All right, let's get into over the weekend. David, I'll let you cue this up, but
Sure.
it was at a protest where you're supposed to protest these things because they are government policies that are being protested at Queen's Park, which is the Ontario legislature in Toronto. Let Kids Be Kids was the name of the protest, and sure as hell the weirdos just won't let kids be kids and let parents be concerned. Our friend April Hutchison was speaking at this event. You know, she's an advocate for fairness in women's sport and leaving little girls to achieve their things without having boys and men invade their spaces. And things went sideways. Davis, tell us about that. David,
Yes,
tell us about this.
it was a rally, Sheila, that April was involved with many other esteemed speakers. And it was for Let Kids Be was the name of the rally. And, it was for the shocking concept of, you know what, do you really think puberty blockers and slicing and dicing the genitalia of children is a good thing? Of course it's not. But yeah, Sheila, the radical transgender community with their Antifa allies came out. Now, usually what's very significant here, Sheila, is the Hamas holes never miss a protest they don't want to join in on, but they were AWOL. Why would that be? Well, maybe the guy wearing the Queers for a Free Palestine t-shirt should get the memo there. It's because they hate the queers almost as much as they hate the Jews. So they were absent without a leave. And we wanted to talk to these demonstrators. I wanted to see why they think sex change operation for minors is a good thing. And to tell you what they're all about, folks, when I asked the question, do you denounce the assassination of Charlie Kirk? All of them en masse, on cue, laughed out loud. That is what kind of violent mental cases these radical trans people are. And here's the deal. Well, I think we're going to throw to a video. Guess who made a guest appearance vis-a-vis law enforcement? And before I get into that, we back the blue here at Rebel. I even back the blue, even getting arrested 5 times last year for false charges. Without the police, we have anarchy, we have the law of the jungle. But you know what? Just like there are bad lawyers, bad doctors, bad engineers, and even bad journalists, there are bad cops. And the worst of the worst on the force right now in Toronto is Sergeant Josephs, or is it Joseph Adams? You see, I can't get his real name right because I only know him about his infamous nickname, Officer Bubbles. That was because going back to 2010, I believe, he actually arrested this little 95-pound lady for blowing bubbles. He considered that an assault. He is an anger head case. He should have been fired from the force or at least assigned to desk work. Instead, because this is Olivia Chow's Toronto, he's being promoted. I wonder why. Anyways, let's throw to Officer Bubbles, basically the master of disaster, coordinating for the Queen's Park Police to throw independent media off the grounds. Meanwhile, CBC, City News, they were fine to stay because our mere presence, folks, was triggering the radical transgenders. Check it out.
Officer, will you take trespass? All of them.
Okay. All of them?
All
okay.
of them.
You guys gotta go back.
They're all trespass.
You've been trespassed.
This is
back.
the direction of the legislation.
Back.
They're all
Trespassed off the legislature
Nobody's
grounds.
blowing bubbles here.
See,
Nobody's
you've been
blowing
trespassed.
bubbles. That's Officer Bubbles,
Okay.
He's pretty infamous.
So you've been trespassed?
Officer, will you take trespass? All of them.
And by the way, Sheila, what I was trying to do at that point is that my camera woman, Avery, was physically assaulted by one of these transgenders. It was eyewitness. It was caught on video. We have physical evidence. I took a photo of her, the welt on her forehead, and she wanted to press charges. And those police and those Queen's Park Mall security guards wanted to take her statement, and they didn't.
Why do they keep Officer Bubbles on crowd control? He got the city of Toronto sued once. Why is this guy dealing with members of the public. He should be sitting in a cubicle somewhere. He does not have the temperament to deal with members of the public. And yet they keep him on the front line of these crowd issues. How many times does he have to get the city of Toronto sued? And it should be noted that the Antifa crazy people who came there looking for a fight, they were allowed to stay, and independent journalists were trespassed off.
Yeah, because Antifa and the radical trends and the Hamas holes are ordering the Toronto Police Service around. And you're absolutely right about Bubbles, Sheila. The last time I encountered him was, well, I remember it well because it was Remembrance Day at a Tim Hortons, and he physically assaulted me by lashing out at me. He has learned nothing from the PR disaster he created for himself and for the Toronto Police Service. And if people think, oh, you know, what are you talking about? The Toronto Police Service, is taking orders from radical transgenders. Sheila, if you can imagine, when we followed the demonstration down Yonge Street to Yonge Dundas Square, about a half hour or so passed by, and there was a Latin festival that took place. And, well, what do you know? What was part of the flotilla? The Toronto Transgender Police Cruiser. Yeah, this is, it doesn't even look like a police cruiser, folks. It looks like an ice cream truck. It's painted in that garish Pride Progress motif. It's usually driven by Sergeant Robert Chevalier. He is the officer who's part of the LGBT, et cetera, liaison team. I'm not making any of this up. And basically, one of his duties is to drive this around Toronto, trying to give transgenders free rides. You know, if I'm a taxi cab driver or I'm working for Uber or Lyft, I'm really mad about that. Why do they get taxpayer-funded free transportation? But what I'm getting at, that was the police. And ironically, this happening an hour or so after the assault incident, just showing literally which side they stand on. They're on Team Tranny. They believe that these people don't have equal rights but special rights. And this city has gone to hell in a handbasket, Sheila. And I'm thinking, I'm serious of planning my exit strategy. I don't know if there is a way to recover this, even if there is regime change in Ottawa. And speaking of which, do you think Transanity will ever end under Mark Carney's watch, given that he has a daughter currently pretending to be a son? Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Imagine being assaulted by these violent trans crazy people, as has happened to many people across Canada.
Yep.
We have a real problem with this. And you show up looking for cops who are going to unbiased apply the law, right? Lady Justice is blindfolded for a reason, and they show up with the Pride Progress flag on the car, and you're like, how the hell am I supposed to be assumed that I'm going to be treated fairly? And even if you are treated fairly, there's a presumption of bias that I think everybody is supposed to avoid here. We've got another clip. I think this also comes to us by way of Karima. She says, hullabaloo at Queen's Park with police trespassing independent media from the legislature at the behest of violent Antifa counter-protesters. And look, again, I support cops. I got to tell you, the cops at the ostrich farm, excellent. Tamara had an interaction over the weekend with an OPP officer who was just a delight to watch.
He's the cop of the year, Sheila, even with 3 months left to go.
You know what? He could be. I just thought he was so... Tamara's got a great story coming up about a Tim Hortons. Anyway, the Tim Hortons called the police on her, and the cop was like, what are you doing calling the police? This is not a police matter. If you don't like what's happening here, I don't care. Like, she's doing her job. He was so good. And I got to tell you, that's the way most police are. It's just the bad guys gravitate to these positions of crowd control and social justice. Let's watch this next clip from Karima.
You're leaving to that curb. I want to cover that rally, officer.
You're leaving to the curb.
Huh? This is Olivia Chow's Toronto. This is Myron Dempu's Toronto, where the police will not tolerate impolite questions. By the way, have you taken your transgender training, sir?
That wasn't a joke, by the way, Sheila. As you know, we were leaked the transgender training module. All the police have to A, watch, and B, pass the test on. And again, to make a long story short, the message, the moral of the story is transgenders do not have equal rights, but special rights. And the police
Apparently
are
more
trained in
rights.
this garbage.
Apparently more rights than everybody else, which is something to behold. Now, at the same time, it was a very busy day that day at Rebel News.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday, Rebel. Happy birthday. Happy 10 years, Rebel. There you go. That's what we're talking about there.
We've got Alexa. She went to a vigil, not to do anything except what I described to her, and she described back to me as from a distance wildlife photography, because this is a vigil for a 15-year-old who was shot by police. We don't know all the details about the shooting yet, but that has not stopped the far left from saying that this young man is the next BLM-style uprising shooting thing. So Antifa has glommed onto this. This is the next George Floyd, according to them. So they've glommed onto this. They're ready to get violent. Alexa was just there to show what Antifa is doing, given that in the United States, Antifa was just named a terrorist organization, much the same way as they should be named here, but we're too focused on Proud Boys, who like a Catholic men's drinking club. Why don't you get the Knights of Columbus in there while you're at it? Catholic Women's League, get those old crones in there. And I say that as one of them. So anyways, she went there, and Alexa can't even be on the street in her own city without Antifa going after her. So let's just look at what happened to her.
Fuck Rebel News! Décollez! Décollez Rebel News!
Where's the cops?
Rebel News! Décollez racistes!
Voyons, écoutez, on est calmement ici. Je sais pas pourquoi vous êtes tellement agressif, là.
Ouais.
Ça paraît pas bien pour votre événement. Moi, je vous inviterais à vous calmer un petit peu.
Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez!
Ah, mais qu'est-ce que vous faites? Qu'est-ce que vous êtes en train de faire?
Fascistes, décollez!
Vous voyez pas, c'est de la sécurité?
Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez!
Hey, mais ça va?
Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes, décollez! Fascistes,
Mais ils sont violents! Mais ils sont violents? Non, pas du tout. Hey, on était ici, genre, puis on n'a rien fait. En silence.
Vous êtes pas bien vus! C'est des racistes!
Va-t'en! Va-t'en!
Décollez! Décollez!
T'es une femme, ok? T'es une femme! Hey, de quoi tu parles? Mais de quoi tu parles? Mais de quoi tu parles? De quoi tu parles? Mais vous êtes pas bien! Mais vous êtes pas bien! Mais vous êtes pas bien! On devrait
Little late, guys.
la rue, hein.
Slightly late to the game. Cops.
Yeah, well-
Alexa had 2 security guards. She could have used 4. But did you see how calm Alexa was? She's like, hey, everybody needs to calm down. Hey, you got to back off. Like, she is not part of the violence. She's not instigating the violence. She's doing her best to de-escalate the violence, because that's how we have to be. We have to be overly calm and overly respectful, even to the people who wish to do us harm, because the other side will say that we invited it.
Yeah. And you're right, Sheila. And beyond that, she was even giving them, as far as I could tell from that video, public relations advice. She said, this is not a good look for you. And she's right, because any reasonable person watching that is going to say, who are these maniacs? And, you know, as much as Toronto has descended into a proverbial shithole, it is Valhalla compared to Montreal. Where the hell were the cops? And when they are on scene, they typically do nothing. Or like what we encountered at Queen's Park, could you leave? Because, you know, your mere presence is triggering the reprobates. You know, Sheila, it's like the dark old days of sexual assault. A woman being raped and then re-victimized on the witness stand, being asked questions. How much cleavage were you shown that night, honey? How much leg were you showing? No. That's not the issue. If someone is triggered, they have to deal with it. And if they can't deal with it, they are arrested. And I don't care how many of them are. And what we learned from that is, by the way, if those two brave security guards weren't there, you know they would have swarmed Alexa and Guillaume 100%. Yeah. And next time, as you said, it'll be 4, maybe 6 security guards. And meanwhile, as the clip ends, I didn't know that the Montreal police had marching drum practice that day. It would have been good if they were actually, you know, on the scene at the time of the protest to arrest the troublemakers causing these shenanigans. But that's how they roll in Montreal. And one last point, Sheila. Alexa said on the morning meeting, the way this was covered in the French mainstream media was, thank goodness for the presence of Antifa for outing the far right-wing fascists. Can you believe it? That's your tax dollars, folks, at work.
We know the SPVM, the Montreal Police, will not protect Alexa Lavoie. We've seen them just stand there while Antifa has attacked her in the past. That's why we sent them with 2 security guards. But they definitely need 4, because they need security guards behind them as they're walking backwards, because that's how that guy got his hands on Guillaume. So you can see there's like an image there where the guy is like reaching behind Guillaume's head. Guillaume's not watching. He's pointing his camera the other way. And so now we need 4 security guards just for our journalists to be able to do their jobs in Montreal. And what do we get from the mainstream media? Victim blaming and incitement. You know, when you are telling the punch a Nazi crowd that you've located some Nazis, what do you think is going to happen to Alexa and Guillaume? 2 things are happening here. You're inciting violence against them, and especially disdainful after what we saw happen to Charlie Kirk. But you're also taking the edge off the blade of the word Nazi when you use it to just describe somebody with a different viewpoint instead of one of the most despicable and evil creatures to walk the face of the earth.